After learning a very optional thing in Enterprise Architect, I wanted to teach you another very optional legacy tool which was used a lot once upon a time, however, nowhere is being used in today's world. This was once upon a time considered as the dad of any requirements management tool, and this is Rational Requisite Pro. So for the next 50-55 minutes, I'm going to teach you how to use this tool. Again, if you ask me, this is not important in today's world as no organization is using it. However, was used a lot previously, but now everything going towards Agile Scrum, this is almost gone. Nonetheless, I hope this video helps you learn.
Okay, so guys, this is Rational Requisite Pro, and this is a requirements management tool. Now, when we say it's a requirements management tool, what do we understand? What is a requirements management? So requirements, if I say that it's a requirements management tool, so what do you think, guys? What all things could happen in a requirements, could be done with a requirements management tool? As the name suggests, requirements management, it means that first of all, it behaves as a central repository where you can store the requirements. That's the first thing, that it's a placeholder where you can store all the requirements. That's number one thing. Then number two is it keeps a track of all the requirement changes. So there is a concept known as configuration and change management. So yeah, yes, okay, I'll try to keep the mic closer. So there is a concept known as change management, which keeps a version of all the changes you can make. So this Rational Requisite Pro has a inbuilt configuration and change management thing, and I'll tell you what that means. And so it maintains a change of all the requirements, that each requirement goes through right from the inception of the requirement. And it also does a traceability of the requirements to the use cases, perhaps, which is the most important thing. So there are three things that the requirements management tool does. Number one is it's a repository for the requirement. Number two, it manages the change, so it acts as a configuration and change management for the requirements. And number three is that it does a traceability to the use cases. So when you open up the tool, this is what a blank screen looks like. Now, every time we work on a project, I meet with the system admin and I ask him to configure the tool according to the needs of the project. So when I say configure the tool, it means that creating the template we need to use. So you remember when we were working on Enterprise Architect, we did create templates wherein we had use case model and requirements model, and then under the requirements model we had business rules, functional requirements, non-functional requirements. So we do the same thing. So the first thing we do is we start up with a new project. So we create a new project in this Requisite Pro. So we go on to File, New Project. Now, this is the first question. This is the first question they ask you. What are the what templates did you use? So this is the question they ask you, and the question is, what templates do you use? What template did you use when you were using Rational Requisite Pro? So write down this question, or you can just follow this and then validate that. It's the same thing. You can close this, Sushant. Okay. So we have now created the project. Now we'll create the placeholders for the requirements. So we want to create packages for business rules, functional requirements, non-functional requirements, and use cases. So we go into the project which says online banking, and we do a right click and say new package. And the first package is business rules. Business rule. Okay. Then the next package is functional requirements. Then non-functional requirements. And underneath the non-functional requirements, we have four other packages: GUI, security, scalability, performance. And one more package underneath online banking, use cases. So now the next step is we want to start entering the requirements. So the way we enter the requirement, if you want to enter the requirement, what we do is we go, say for example, if I want to enter a functional requirement, so I go onto the package functional requirement, I do a right click, new requirement, and it will give you an error message. Now what it says is there are no requirement types available. Now what do we mean by requirement types? Requirement types means, do you remember while we were using Enterprise Architect, we created the stereotypes. If it's a business rule, the stereotype is a BR. If it's a functional requirement, the stereotype is an FR. So okay, so in Enterprise Architect, we were entering the stereotypes as and when we were entering the requirements. However, in Rational Requisite Pro, we first have to enter the stereotypes and then enter the requirements. So we do initially. So we click on OK, and then we go on the top onto File and Project Administration, Properties, and then we click on the tab which says Requirement Types. Click on Add. So the first package we have is Business Rules. So that's the name we enter, Business Rules. And then in the requirement tag prefix, you write capital BR. And you click on OK. You again add another one saying functional requirements. And then the tag is FR. What will be the next one? Yeah, ideally we don't, but I want to just clear one concept. So would the next one be a non-functional requirement? Name? No, assume that I want to enter non-functional requirements as well. So what would be the next tag? Non-functional requirements NFR? Exactly. So we'll go for GUI, performance, scalability, and security, right? There will be no requirement saying a non-functional requirements because there is no typical non-functional requirements. It's either a GUI, either a performance, or a scalability, or a security. Make sense? Okay. So we don't want to go there, don't want to create there, but yeah, if you want, you can just put GUI. Or if not, you can do for use cases because we need one for use cases. We had a tag called UC. So use cases, and the requirement tag prefix is a UC. We do. Ideally we do. So if you want, we can just create one. So we've already created for GUI, so let's do it for performance. And the tag prefix for that is PER. And then scalability, SCA. And then security, SEC. Okay, so now we have defined the requirement type. So now it'll allow us to enter the requirements. So we can enter the business rules the same way and functional requirements the same way. So you would have the document, Sushant, that I sent you, which is called online banking. So open the document, and I want you to copy all the requirements under the functional requirements and all the business rules under the business rules section one by one. It might take a few minutes, but we need to do that, so take your time. That's it. That's how you, so now just, yeah, that's how you do. Yep. So you are entering a business rule, so the type is a business rule, and when you enter the functional requirement, you make sure that the type is a functional requirement. You select from the list box. So now, like this, we'll enter all the business rules, functional requirements, non-functional requirements, and then we enter the use cases. Um, uh, so let's assume that we have 3 use cases here: order checks, view account history, and transfer funds. So we go into the package or order checks. Sorry, we go into the package use case and do a right click and say new requirement, and we choose the type as a use case. And the first use case we write is order checks. And click on OK. Similarly we enter another use case called transfer funds. And then the third use case is view account history. Now the next thing is that we have entered the requirements, we have entered the business rules, and we have identified the use cases we have for this project. Now one more thing that we can do with Enterprise Architect that we can't with we can do with Requisite Pro that we can't with Enterprise Architect is the concept known as traceability. So now we all know that each use case is made up of functional requirements and business rules. Does this ring a bell to each of us? That each use case consists of functional requirements and business rules. So now what I want to do is I want to open up, I want to connect the functional requirements and the business rules to the respective use cases that it is made up of. So the first thing I do is I'll double click on the use case order checks. And then I go on to traceability and I click on add. So the moment I click on add, I get to see all the business rules and functional requirements I have entered. So what I do is I manually select all the business rules and functional requirements which talk about ordering checks. And I can do multiple selections by the help of a control key, control select operation. And once I select them all, I'll click on OK. So Sushant, I want you to take a few minutes and identify all the business rules and functional requirements related for each use case and connect them and click on OK. So do the same exercise for all the three use cases. So you want to do it for all the remaining two use cases as well. Transfer funds and view account history. You finished with all the three? Okay. Okay, great. So now what you just did is you tried to connect the use cases to the functional requirements and the business rules it is made up of. Now we know the tool, I mean, if we can open up a use case and then we go into traceability, we'll get to know that what is connected to what. But we need a way wherein it's very easy for us to identify that what is connected to what. So the way to see that is there are certain views that Requisite Pro provides us, wherein we can identify the traceability and see it visually. So write down this question first. The question is, what are the different views? What are the different views available in Rational Requisite Pro? What are the different views available in Rational Requisite Pro? And the answer is there are three views. It provides you three views. The first view is called traceability matrix. The second view is called traceability tree. And the third view is called attribute matrix. So these are the three views. I'll repeat. The first is called the traceability matrix. The second one is called the traceability tree, and the third is called the attribute matrix. Now, what is a matrix? How does a matrix look like? Yeah, it's like it consists of rows and columns, right? That's a matrix. And what is a tree structure? For what you see, yeah. So what you see here on the left side in your Rational Requisite Pro is the tree structure. You have a plus sign. When you click on the plus sign, the things underneath opens up, where you enter this requirements and business rules. So that's a tree structure, yeah. That this you have the trees, and then when you click on the plus sign, the branches open up. So that's a tree structure. So the first two view, it's traceability matrix and traceability tree. So the first view, which says traceability matrix, as the name suggests, it shows you the traceability in the form of a matrix. And the other view is called traceability tree. So it shows you the same traceability, but rather than a matrix format, it shows you in a tree format. So let us see how to create this view. So underneath online banking, we'll create one more package called the view, and the name of that package is views. And we click on OK. And now we go on to the package called views, and then we do a right click. We say new view, and the name of the view. So you can create traceability. See, anything can be traced. So initially you want to say that I want to see what requirements, what functional requirements are connected to what use cases. So you can say FR, that's functional requirements, hyphen UC, space matrix. So you want to see the matrix between what requirements, functional requirements are connected to what use cases. In the view type, you select the, no. You see, you have a view type underneath in the window. Yeah, so you select traceability matrix. And then now since you want to create between FR and UC, you want the rows as not a business rule, but functional requirements, and the columns as use cases. And then you click on OK. So this is the traceability matrix. The view has the answer itself. I want you to look at a micro level and you'll be able to see that. Look into details of it. Look at each row. Now this is the biggest hint. So you look at the requirement number 14. Do you see any arrow connected to a use case? You do not. So when you see a requirement which has no trace to a use case, what is the first thought that comes to your mind? The first thought that comes to my mind is, oh, you know what? I have just missed connecting this requirement to a use case. I just overlooked this requirement. So then what I do is I look for the use case where I can connect this requirement to. So if I find a use case for which this requirement is a part of, then I'll connect it to that respective use case. However, after looking at all the use cases, if I see that if I find a requirement which is not connected to any, if I find this requirement for which there is no use case, then it's a flag. It's a flag that I think I may have overlooked this requirement, and there are no use cases. So this is an orphan requirement. So when you find an orphan requirement, what you do is you either modify an existing use case to incorporate that particular requirement, or you meet with SMEs again and collect some more set of requirements so that you can create a new use case to take care of that feature or functionality. So that's the first thing, the first and the most important thing, that it allows you to do this. Now another thing is let's do this. Can you open up requirement number 3? Double click on requirement number 3. Now system shall allow the user to view the account history for the past 30 days. Now let's assume that the requirements change and the user says now it allows the user to, let's allow them to see that for 45 days. So now what you do is you rather than 30 you make it 45 here. So you change to 45. And then you click on OK. So the moment you click on OK, what do you see now? You see an arrow across the trace. So the name of that red bar that you see across is known as a suspect link. The red bar that you see is known as a suspect link. And what is the importance of that suspect link? So whenever you see a suspect link, it means that after you have traced the requirements to the use case, the requirement has changed. So it's a flag. It's reminding you that this requirement has changed. And when the requirement changes, the next thing you need to do is you want to update your use case as well. So since it's connected, you don't have to think hard saying that, okay, if this requirement changes, what use case do I need to change? Because this arrow just points you that you want to change. If the requirement 3 changes, you want to change use case 3. So that's the reason we use traceability. So you directly open up your use case 3 use case narrative, and then which would be in a Word document, and then you can make the changes. And you'll make the changes, rather than 30, you'll make it 45 in that as well. And now once you are sure that, okay, now the use case is again in sync with the requirement, then you manually can remove this traceability. So you again go on to that red arrow, you do a right click, and then you select clear suspect, and that removes that that uh, diagonal line, which is known as a suspect link. Another thing, as I told you, that this also maintains the configuration and change management. It has its own version control tool. So let's again open up requirement number 3. We go on to revision, and we go on to history underneath that. You see at the bottom, right at the bottom, you have 1.000. So this is the first thing that you created. And then every time you make a change, it gives a new version. So you select on the top 1.0001, and it says that you created a trace to use case 3. Then you do 1.0002, and it will say that you changed the requirements from 30 days to 45 days. And then it will say in 1.003 that you removed the suspect. So this is what the change configuration and change management tool does, is that every time you make a change, it gives you a new version. So if you want to go back to a previous version, you can anytime roll back. So this is the concept of configuration and change management. So you can click on close, you can click on OK. So let us write down this question and the answer, because this is one of the questions they might ask you in the interview. And the question is, what is traceability and importance of traceability? Again, the question is, what is traceability and the importance of traceability? So the answer is, traceability is connecting requirements to the use cases or business rules to use cases or business rules to requirements or use cases to test cases or requirements to test cases. Or business rules to test cases. Does it make sense? Test cases. So you can.
I'm sorry, I'm getting connected. I'm putting it on.
So Shahnaz, do you want me to repeat everything again?
Please repeat the question because I lost it. Thank you.
What about the answer? Okay. The question is, what is traceability and the importance of traceability? Have you lost the answer as well?
Thank you. I got it. Can you repeat the answer of the
Traceability is connecting the requirements to use cases or business rules to use cases or business rules to functional requirements, or use cases to test cases, or requirements to test cases, or business rules to test cases. Continue from there. Traceability helps identify the requirements. Traceability helps identify requirements. Traceability helps identify requirements which are not addressed at the use case level. Traceability helps identify the requirements which are not addressed at the use case level, as well as helps identify the impacted use case with the change in the requirement. So this is what is traceability and importance of traceability. Now, you can do a traceability between anything. You can connect the requirements which belongs to the use case. You can connect the business rules which are connected to the requirements. You can connect the use cases to test cases. So everything and anything which are interrelated can be connected through traceability. So this is the view called traceability matrix. Now let us see another view which is called traceability tree. So we again go into the package views, and then we do a right click, and then we select new view, and then in the name we write traceability tree, and then you can put a hyphen, and then you can say use case UC level, and then in the view type you select traceability tree into, traced into, and then you want to have the use case level, so you select UC and you click on OK. So this is the tree structure. So when we see the traceability from the level of a use case, it does not show us one thing, and that is what is one thing that this view does not show us. Exactly. So yeah, because we are viewing it from the use case level. So we can create another view at the requirements level so that we can identify all the orphan requirements. So let us create another view. So we go onto the package views, right click, new view, and then we can say traceability tree, and then we can say FR level. And then in the view type, you say traceability tree out of, because now we are doing at the other level. And then you say the requirements as a functional requirement, and then you click on OK. So this shows you from the view of a requirement that what requirement is connected to what use case. So over here, if you see any requirement which does not have a plus sign, that means that that's an orphan requirement. And again, it helps you do the same thing. If you change the requirement, it'll again give you the suspect link and everything. What you cannot do? What do you mean? Yeah, it does. So you get a suspect link the moment you change the requirement. It does in either views. That's a common thing. So this is the traceability tree. So it shows you the traceability not in a matrix form. It shows you in the form of a tree. And then the third view we see is known as an attribute matrix. Now, before we see that view, we need to understand what is an attribute. So write down the question, what are requirement attributes? So write down the question, what are requirement attributes? And the answer is requirement attributes are data fields. Requirement attributes are data fields associated Requirement attributes are data fields associated with each requirement that contains important project information. That contains important project information. So if you open up any requirement, you can double click and open up any requirement. And if you go on to attributes, all these things that you see, priority, status, cost, difficulty, stability, they are requirement attributes. So in a layman's language, requirement attributes are nothing but they are the characteristics of a requirement or properties of a requirement. So this view, we never ever use it on the job. However, it's a view which is provided in the tool, so we need to know that, because this is not at all an important view. So let's see how to create this view. So again, we do the same thing to create this. So we do right click on the package views, new view, and then we write the view name as attribute matrix, and we can say -FR for functional requirements. By default, the view type is attribute matrix, and the row requirement type you can choose as functional requirements. So that's about it. So it shows you the requirement, and then if you scroll on to the right, it'll show you all the different attributes that that requirement has, and it'll allow you to change the attributes from here as well. You can change the attributes from here if you click there, and it will ask, so you can change it from here as well. So sometimes if you want to do requirements prioritization, you can use this to quickly do that rather than opening each and every requirement. That's the only importance. So that is what this tool allows you to do in and out. So the questions that are probably asked on this tool is, what are the templates you use, and then what are the different views available, what is traceability matrix, what is the requirement attributes. So this is in and out that you can do using Requisite Pro.